The greatest security in the galaxy. The Zenthari Empire ruled over 400 star systems. They were known across the galaxy for one thing above all else, their security systems. For 800 years, no one had ever broken into a Zenthari vault. No thief had ever stolen from their treasure rooms. No hacker had ever cracked their codes. The Zenthari were masters of protection. Their vaults used quantum encryption that changed every microsecond. Their doors were made from compressed neutron star material, harder than anything else in the known universe. Their security protocols were written by artificial intelligence that thought 1,000,000 times faster than any living brain. The crown jewel of Zenthari security was the central archive on their homeworld. This massive facility held the Empire's most precious secrets, ancient technologies, diplomatic codes, military strategies, and the locations of hidden resource deposits worth trillions of credits. The archive had 47 layers of security, each one designed by a different species of genius engineers. When everything went wrong, then disaster struck. A solar flare, larger than anyone predicted, hit the Zenthari homeworld. The electromagnetic pulse was enormous. It fried circuits across 3 continents. Power grids failed. Communication networks went dark. And worst of all, the central archive security system locked down completely. The massive vault doors sealed shut. All access codes were scrambled. The quantum encryption went into emergency mode, generating random keys that even the system itself couldn't track. Inside the vault were 200 staff members who had been working when the flare hit. They had air for 30 days. After that, they would suffocate. High Commander Vex stood in the archive's control room, his 6 arms crossed in frustration. The Zenthari were tall, gray-skinned beings with large black eyes that saw in multiple spectrums of light. Right now, Vex's eyes showed the infrared signature of intense stress. "Status report," he commanded. Tech specialist Cora, a young Zenthari with bright blue markings on her face, worked frantically at her console. "Sir, the solar flare created a cascade failure. The security system thinks it's under attack. It's activated Protocol Omega." Vex felt his blood turn cold. Protocol Omega was the ultimate lockdown. It was designed to protect the archive against any threat, even a full planetary invasion. Once activated, the vault would stay sealed until the system verified that the threat was over. The problem was that the system's verification processors were inside the vault, cut off from all outside contact. "Can we override it?" Vex asked. "No, sir. The override codes are generated by the quantum processor, which is randomizing every second. We would need to guess a 10,000-digit code that changes before we could even enter it." The galaxy's best minds. The Zenthari Empire sent out an urgent call. They needed help, and they needed it fast. Within 48 hours, the greatest security experts in the galaxy arrived at the archive. The Kryn Collective sent their best codebreakers. These beings were pure energy, living in crystalline containers. They could process information at the speed of light, running billions of calculations per second. The Morth Confederation sent their master engineers. The Morth looked like giant centipedes made of living metal. They could interface directly with machines, understanding technology on an instinctive level. The mysterious Voidborn sent their reality hackers. These beings existed partially outside normal spacetime. They could manipulate the fabric of reality itself, sometimes making impossible things become possible. Each team tried their best methods. The Kryn spent 5 days running every possible code combination. They tried 10 trillion different sequences, but the quantum processor stayed one step ahead, changing faster than they could crack it. The Morth engineers attempted to cut through the vault door. They brought plasma torches that could melt through starship hulls. They used molecular disruptors that could break apart any known material. Nothing worked. The neutron star material simply absorbed the energy and grew harder. The Voidborn tried to phase through the door by shifting into adjacent dimensions. But the Zenthari had thought of that too. The vault existed simultaneously in 47 different dimensional layers. To phase through it, someone would need to shift through all 47 layers at exactly the same moment, an impossible feat. Days turned into weeks. The trapped staff inside had 12 days of air left. Families gathered outside the archive, holding vigil for their loved ones. The galactic media reported on the crisis constantly. The Zenthari Empire's reputation for perfect security was becoming a curse. Commander Vex barely slept. He read every report, attended every briefing, and watched as each solution failed. The Empire had already spent 15 million credits on expert consultants. They had brought in 30 different teams. Nothing worked. A strange suggestion. On day 19, with only 11 days of air remaining, Junior Officer Mira approached Commander Vex with an unusual idea. "Sir, I have a suggestion," she said nervously. Her blue markings flickered, showing her anxiety. "It might sound crazy." "At this point, I'll listen to anything," Vex replied. "What about the humans?" Vex stared at her. "The humans? The species that only developed faster than light travel 30 years ago? The ones who still use physical keys for some of their locks?" "Yes, sir. I studied at the Diplomatic Academy with some humans. They think differently than we do. They don't always follow logical patterns. Sometimes they find solutions that more advanced species miss." Vex was skeptical. The humans were a young species, barely noticed by the greater galactic community. Their technology was primitive compared to Zenthari standards. What could they possibly offer? But he was desperate. The Kren had failed. The Morth had failed. The Voidborn had failed. Maybe, just maybe, someone with a completely different perspective could see something everyone else had missed. "Contact the human embassy," Vex ordered. "Ask if they have anyone with security or engineering experience. But keep expectations low." The human arrives. 2 days later, Sarah Chen arrived at the archive. She was a 28-year-old locksmith from San Francisco, Earth. She had been working at the human embassy, helping staff who locked themselves out of their apartments. When the Zenthari request came through, she was the only person available with any security experience. Sarah stepped off the transport shuttle, carrying a backpack and looking completely overwhelmed. The Zenthari archive was massive, easily the size of a mountain. Security teams, expert consultants, and desperate families surrounded the entrance. Commander Vex met her at the door. He towered over her by 3 feet. His 6 arms moved in what Sarah's translator told her was a greeting of respect, but his large eyes showed doubt. "Locksmith Chen," he said formally. "Thank you for coming. I must be honest with you. We have exhausted every advanced option available. I'm not sure what you can offer that the galaxy's greatest experts could not." Sarah adjusted her backpack nervously. She had never felt so out of place. "Commander, I understand your doubt. I'm not a quantum physicist or a reality hacker. I'm just someone who opens locks when people lose their keys. But sometimes the simplest problems need simple solutions. Our security system is the most complex in the galaxy," Vex said. "There is nothing simple about it." "Maybe that's the problem," Sarah replied quietly. "The simple solution. Asking basic questions." Sarah asked Commander Vex to show her everything. For the next 6 hours, she toured the archive facility, examined the vault door, and reviewed all the failed attempts to break in. She took notes in a small paper notebook, which made the advanced aliens around her smile with amusement. Who used paper anymore? But Sarah wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was trying to understand. And the more she learned, the more a strange idea formed in her mind. That evening, she sat down with Commander Vex and his technical team. "I have some questions," she said. "They might sound stupid." "Please," Vex gestured with 2 of his arms. "Ask anything. When Protocol Omega activates, what is it trying to protect against?" Cora, the tech specialist, answered. "Any external threat. Invasion, hacking attempts, unauthorized access of any kind." So it's watching for threats coming from outside the vault? Yes, exactly. Sarah made a note. And how does it know when the threat is over? The verification processors inside the vault are supposed to scan for threat indicators. Once they determine the environment is safe, they send a signal to unlock. But those processors are inside the sealed vault, cut off from outside information? Correct. Sarah tapped her pen against her notebook. So the processors inside can't see what's happening outside, and the systems outside can't tell the processors inside that everything is safe. You have a communication problem, not a security problem. Deck's eyes flickered with interest. We know this. But we cannot communicate through the vault door. It blocks all signals. All technological signals, Sarah corrected. What about non-technological communication? The room fell silent. Everyone stared at her. A ridiculously simple idea. I don't understand, Cora said slowly. Sarah stood up and walked to the holographic display showing the vault structure. Your security system is designed to stop hacking, cutting, and dimensional phasing. It's designed to stop every advanced threat you could imagine. But what about things that aren't advanced? Like what? Vex asked. Like sound. The Zenthari looked at each other in confusion. Sound cannot pass through neutron star material, one engineer said. We tested this. Sound waves are completely absorbed. What about vibrations? Sarah pressed. Physical vibrations through the structure itself? Cora pulled up technical specifications. The vault is designed to dampen all vibrations to prevent seismic sensors from being used to map the interior. Any vibration would be absorbed by the material's molecular structure. Absorbed, but not eliminated, Sarah said. Show me the dampening specifications. Cora displayed the data. Sarah studied it carefully, even though she barely understood the alien technical terms. But she saw something important. The dampening system reduced vibrations by 99.99%, but not 100%. There's still 0.01% getting through, Sarah said. That's enough. Enough for what? Vex asked. Enough to send a message. A very simple message, using a very old method. Sarah explained her idea. The room was silent when she finished. Then several aliens started talking at once. Some said it was impossible. Others said it was too simple to work. A few said it might actually succeed. It's worth trying, Vex decided. We have 9 days of air left. If this fails, we'll try something else. But Chen is right about one thing, we've been thinking too advanced. Maybe we need to think more primitive. Morse code to the rescue. Sarah spent the next day working with Zenthari engineers to set up her plan. They thought she was crazy. She probably was. But she had nothing to lose. The plan was absurdly simple. They would use controlled vibrations to send a message through the vault structure itself. Not a complex data stream, not a quantum signal, just simple pulses. Long pulse, short pulse, pause. The oldest form of communication humanity had ever invented, Morse code. The message would be simple, safe. Solar flare. Unlock now. The engineers set up massive vibration generators against the vault door. These were normally used for seismic testing, creating controlled earthquake-like pulses. They calibrated them to send the Morse code message through the neutron star material. The first attempt failed. The vibrations were too weak, absorbed completely by the dampening system. They increased power. Second attempt, still nothing. They repositioned the generators to find the optimal vibration frequency. Third attempt, a faint reading on sensors, but not strong enough. For 3 days, they adjusted and refined. Sarah worked alongside Zenthari engineers who had initially dismissed her idea but now threw themselves into making it work. They were running out of time. 6 days of air remained. On the 4th day, they achieved success. A rhythmic pattern of vibrations made it through the vault structure. Inside, the trapped staff felt the pulses through the floor, the walls, the air itself. At first, they didn't understand. Then someone who had studied human culture recognized the pattern. "It's Morse code," she shouted. "They're sending Morse code." The message was decoded: safe. Solar flare. Unlock now. The vault opens. Inside the vault, the lead engineer understood what to do. He accessed the Protocol Omega control panel and entered the manual override sequence, then sent a vibration response confirming receipt. Understood. Unlocking. Nothing happened at first. The verification processors were still stuck in their loop, still convinced a threat existed. But now the staff inside had information. They knew what had happened. They knew it was safe. The lead engineer did something no one had done in 800 years of Zen-3 security. He manually disabled Protocol Omega using the emergency shutdown buried deep in the system code. It required physical access to 3 different control nodes inside the vault, actions that could only be taken by someone inside who knew it was safe. 30 minutes later, the massive vault door began to open. Fresh air rushed in. The trapped staff stumbled out, exhausted but alive. Families reunited with tears and embraces. The galactic media captured the moment when the impossible became possible. Sarah stood to the side, watching the celebration. She felt strange. She had just helped solve a crisis that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds. And she had done it with Morse code, a system invented on Earth over 180 years before humans even left their planet. Commander Vex approached her, all 6 arms extended in the highest gesture of respect. "Locksmith Chen, you saved 200 lives today. How did you know it would work?" Sarah smiled tiredly. "Back home, I once helped a guy who got trapped in a safe room when the electronic lock failed. We couldn't override it, couldn't cut through it. So I had him tap on the door in Morse code to confirm he was okay while we worked on getting him out. Same principle, just bigger scale. You thought of this because of a simple rescue on Earth? Sometimes the old ways work best. Your security was designed to stop every advanced threat. But it wasn't designed to stop someone just knocking on the door." A new respect. The story spread across the galaxy. The Zen-3, embarrassed but grateful, implemented changes to their security protocols. Every system now included basic communication backups. Morse code training became mandatory for security staff. They called it the Chen Protocol. Sarah returned to Earth a hero, though she never quite felt comfortable with the attention. She went back to her locksmith job, helping people who locked their keys in their cars and couldn't access their apartments. But sometimes, late at night, she smiled thinking about how the galaxy's most advanced security system had been defeated by dots and dashes, by a communication method older than spaceflight itself. The Zen-3 learned an important lesson that day: sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes you just need someone who knows how to knock on the door and wait for an answer. And sometimes, the greatest technology in the universe can't replace simple human common sense. The end.